and welcome back to the United by Football podcast. I'm Abs, just here with Abs, myself, me, myself, and I. So welcome, welcome back to the show. So, Mattson, it's nice we've given you a laugh today.
I've got to give a bit of ambience, you know.
Oh, you and your ambience, mate. God bless you. So we've come here today. I've thought of a fantastic idea that I used to love watching from Spencer FC back in the day, and that is predicting the Premier League ladder way out before the season started. So we're 4 weeks away from the start of the Premier League, and I'm going to predict from 20 all the way to 1. And now, I know the guys that watch this, you don't care too much about your relegation battles. You don't care too much about your mid-table. So what I'm going to do right quick is I'm going to run through this bottom half of the table, going to give you a quick reason why I think they're going to end up where they are. And then when we get into that top 10, we're going to smash right through. So in 20th, I've got Leicester City. So we've got Steve Cooper at the helm. They've just lost their manager, Enzo, right before the season started. Lost Dewsbury Hall, a bit of a tongue twister there, and signed an absolute bunch of nobodies. So I think they're going to go right back down. I think they're going to have a shambles of a season. And I think the fact that they've built something and lost that with the manager very quickly tells me a lot. So I think they're in 20th. I think Ipswich Town finish in 19th. Again, it's very similar to Burnley, where they've done fairly well in the Championship last season. And ultimately, I think they're going to go down. I just don't think they have enough. They've signed the Mari Hutchinson. I think that's really about it in terms of relevance and who they've brought in. But other than that, I think they're in 19th, and joining them in relegation is Nottingham Forest. I think they're finally going to go down. I think they're going to finish in 18th, and I think Nuno is going to be out of a job before the season's end. So from Tottenham to Nottingham Forest, I think he's going to be out of a job before then. So that's my bottom three. I think Ipswich, Nottingham Forest, and Leicester City are going down. 17th, 16th, and 15th, I've got Southampton, Bournemouth, and Everton. So for me, I see those three all in the same bracket. Just there. I think they're going to scruffle through. They're going to dip in and out of that relegation battle. And ultimately, look, Everton for me could go down, but that Sean Dyche factor, that 4-4-2, him being able to play at the back, you know, the two banks of four in front of your keeper and hit for the counter as your heart desires. Or as your heart desires, as Sean Dyche would say. 16th, Bournemouth. Again, Philip Billing. Oh, nice to know I'm keeping you laughing, Mattson. So who they've brought in. Look, I do like who they have brought in. They've brought in Sinisterra from Leeds. Unfortunately, Leeds couldn't come up. And look, it's quite a shame because I do know a few Leeds fans out there. And boo-hoo. They've brought in Unal from Getafe. That's a very interesting signing. And Alex Paulson, you might know him from the Wellington Phoenix. So he's been one of the best goalkeepers in the Premier League, and he's signed professional contract with Bournemouth. In terms of who's left, aside from Kiefer Moore, bunch of nobodies there. Southampton's a very interesting one because they've gone and signed Taylor Hardwood-Bellis from Manchester City. He's come up for, can't speak English there, £23 million. That's a lot of money for someone who's played no Premier League football. And ultimately, other than that, you've signed Flynn Downs, who's a defensive midfielder from West Ham United, for another £21 million. And now you got to ask yourself, are you spending your money in the right places? You know, you've just come up, but ultimately, I think Southampton will just do enough. And they've got Russell Martin, a young manager, 38, Scottish. I think they'll do well. He's been there since midway through 2023, and I think he'll be able to stick around. So that's the three there. The next three in 14th, 13th, and 12th, I've got Wolves, Brighton, and Fulham. Now, when it comes to Wolves, they're very interesting because they've brought in Larson from Celta Vigo on the $3 million loan fee, Rodrigo Gomez from Portugal, and Tommy Doyle from Manchester City. Now, they've gone very much down that route where you are signing youngsters, and they have let go of Max Kilman. So Max Kilman was one of their better players last season. It was one of the form centre-backs of the Premier League, and they've let him go for $47.5 million. So considering they've already spent about 25, 30, 33 million pounds of that money on 4 different players, that's including Pedro Lima, who is a right back. It'll be interesting to see where they spend the rest of the money because, unfortunately, I just don't think, especially under Gary O'Neill, that they're giving him the best opportunity to play to his best. I think Gary O'Neill at the end of the day is a good manager, and we saw that at the back end of the season. But ultimately, you know, you ask yourself, is the manager outdoing the club? Is the club, you know, not giving him enough? And I think they'll finish around the mid-table. And their counterparts for me, Brighton, who have lost their manager, and Robert De Zerbi, will finish in that 13th mark because they have signed a young manager, 31 years of age. He is German. And look, it's exciting times at Brighton. Fabian Herzler, 31. He's just joined. Robert De Zerbi's left. They have brought in a few signings. They've brought in Minter and I'm not talking about Mini Minter from the Sidemen. I'm talking about Yankuba Minter from Newcastle. Right winger, £35 million. Mats Weifer from Feyenoord for £30 million. And Ibrahim Osman for £19.5 million. It's very interesting. It's very, very interesting with Brighton because they really haven't lost anyone outside Adam Lallana. And you got to ask yourself, you know, they've been better off without him. He's an aging player, and I don't see it with Brighton this season. I really don't. And joining them is Brentford. You know, my lovely, lovely co-host Thomas loves Thomas Frank, but unfortunately, Mr. Thomas Militic, I think they finished 11th. I think they just finished outside the top half. Thomas Frank, who turns 50 this year. Happy 50th, Thomas Frank. Woo, woo, woo. Contract expires in 2027, so he's not going anywhere. And in terms of who they've brought in Thiago from Belgium. I think it's Club Bruges, I believe he's playing at the moment for 33 million euros. So they haven't really kind of brought anyone in. David Raya's left. He's been on loan since last season. So there hasn't been much movement there when it comes to Brentford. But ultimately, they've proven to be a valiant team when it comes to the Premier League. And I think they'll stick around the 11th mark because we're getting to that top 10. And despite the departure of Michael Olise to Bayern Munich, I do think that Crystal Palace finish in 10th. So we're talking almost European football, but just not there. You know, now that they've brought in, I believe, let's just double check this information, 53 million euros for Michael Olise, and I'm surprised he didn't go to a Premier League club. And with Oliver Glasner at the helm, you know, since our good friend Roy Hodgson has left and Patrick Vieira's had his time there, they have looked good. You know, they have had their games where they've been bad. They have had their games where they've struggled, and mainly it's been against the bigger teams. But I think there's a big outlook. There's a positivity about Crystal Palace, and if they spend that money right, because right now they've brought in Kamara from Lazio on a free transfer, and they've also brought in Chadi Ride for 15 million from Real Betis. Other than that, there hasn't been much movement. Rob Holding's still there. Good old Rob Holding, you know, like good times. Sam Johnson's still there. Dean Henderson. There's an array. Mark Guehi. I'd be very surprised if Mark Guehi sticks around because after that tournament for England, I have to say he has genuinely been one of the form centre-backs this year, and he proved in the tournament why he was there. You know, alongside John Stones, first time playing with him, it worked out in his favour at the end. They got to the final, and it was unfortunate the way they went out. You know, I could blame Kyle Walker, but that's for another podcast where we sit there and talk about England's disappointments under Southgate. So, yeah, that's Crystal Palace in 10th for me. And Eberechi Eze. I'd be very, very surprised if he sticks around as well. Talking Chelsea, Arsenal, I believe. I think Liverpool possibly were looking at him as well. But it's going to take another 50 million to get him out of the club. The same as Mark Guehi, who's currently linked to Manchester United as well. He's valued at £38 million at the moment. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think if he's going to leave for a club, he's going to leave for a club of success. And I'm not talking about past success. I'm talking about current success. So calm down, United fans, because we don't want to hear you hissy fit just yet. In 9th, I have gone the mighty, mighty Hammers. In terms of who they've brought in so far, let's have a look. You know, you've brought in Max Kilman, as we brought up previously, for 47.5, and Guilherme for 23 million euros. In terms of who's left, we've mentioned Flynn Domes, and we've also not mentioned Saeed Benrahma. Again, one player who I don't understand why he couldn't reach that next level at West Ham. It was the perfect club for him. He had all the skill. Maybe it was his attitude, but when it came up against Arsenal, he always managed to sneak a goal. So I don't know why he couldn't do it against the other 18 Premier League teams. So that's that. Kerr has also left for Monaco. And Ben Johnson's gone to Ipswich Town. Other than that, there hasn't been much big news coming out of the West London club. But yeah, I think they'll perform. I think they'll be able. They still haven't spent that Declan Rice money properly. And I think if they do sell a few more players, they'll be able to get a hefty fee. I'd say another 40 to 50 million possibly. Build the club up, go from there, finish in ninth, I think just outside the European positions. And into the juicy top 8. This is what you guys have been waiting for. We've dragged you out for 10 minutes. In 8th, drum roll please, Manchester United. Yes. Manchester United, for me, are finishing in 8th place. And you ask why, Abs? Because I don't think Erik ten Hag is going to make it past halfway of that season. And you say, what's going to happen after that? They're going to be a stopgap manager. There's going to be another load of issues coming through. And despite all the departures they've had, and we'll go through them right now, and just to make sure, I know you United fans, you'll come after me. We're going to get the facts. We're going to get them right. So, who's left your club, you ask? You've lost Rafael Varane, who currently has no club. You've lost Anthony Martial, who currently has no club. Kamwala, who was actually decent for you guys during the season at centre-back, for 10 million euros. You've lost Carreras and Donny van de Beek. Donny van de Beek, you sold for $500,000. $500,000. That's insane. And then look, fair play. You've went to Bologna. You've brought in Xerxes. That's a bit of a tongue twister there. Centre forward, you've got Højlund. I don't understand. I just don't get it. And I think Erik ten Hag, I've said it. I think he's the right manager. I think you need to give him time and you need to let him mold the team. But I don't think the board has the patience for that. So that's that in terms of Manchester United. Who you need to bring in, I do think you need another Bruno. I do think you need to replace Casemiro. I think Mainu needs that support. You don't want to burn Mainu out too early in his career. I think you need a backup at left back because Reguilon came and he left. And I'm pretty sure, what happened to what's his name? Malacia. He's nowhere to be seen. I think you need a few more defenders. I think the fact that Harry Maguire has been your best centre-back in the last season tells you everything you need to know about your club at the moment. But there's recipe there. There's the youngsters. There's Garnacho. There's Mainu. There's Højlund. You know, Bruno's there, and Bruno's a quality player whether people like it or not. I think the pieces are there. You just need to get the glue in between to kind of get it there. That's kind of it for me about Manchester United. In 7th, I have Newcastle United. Now, why do I put Newcastle above Manchester United despite Newcastle looking to have to sell a lot of their players? I don't see why Newcastle wouldn't finish above United. I think they have the squad. I think they have a better balanced squad. I think at the end of the day, when it comes to Manchester United, I think that there's an inconsistency there. And I know that this season as well, when it came to Newcastle United, they had their games where they were off. They had their 4-0 defeats. They had their 5-1s. But I think they can get it together with Eddie Howe. You've got a young manager, and unless he takes that England job, and I wouldn't be surprised if he does take it up, ultimately, because we know how the English are. They like to have their English managers. I don't remember the last time they had a foreign manager. But Eddie Howe, at the age of 46, still very young, I think he could do a job again. I think he might take that England job, but if he doesn't, 7th place beckons Newcastle. Lewis Hall has arrived on a permanent £33 million. They've signed Lloyd Kelly, John Ruddy, Alex Murphy, and Vlachodimos from Nottingham Forest. In terms of who's left, Elliot Anderson has left to Nottingham Forest for €41 million. And Minter has left for 35. So they've made a bit of buck. They've actually made a profit of €43.2 million. And really, they haven't brought many people in. And they haven't sold anyone really of a big nature in terms of Newcastle. So that's that. You look at their squad at the moment. Joel Linton's still there. He's been playing out of his skin. I believe Tonali is coming back at some point this season. Bruno Guimaraes, unless he leaves, that is a midfield of dreams at the moment. Guimaraes, Tonali, and Joel Linton. That's physical. That's got a good passing range. And that can really take any team on in the Premier League. In terms of 6, you're going to hate me for this as well. I've gone Liverpool. Liverpool, for me, I think under Slot in his first season will definitely not finish in the top 4. And I know you Reds are going to come for me, and I know you're going to eat me alive. But at the end of the day, honestly, see it for what it is. You're going to lose some of your players. Mohamed Salah is going to eventually move to Saudi. Van Dijk's going to look around him and kind of want to move on and start sailing into the sunset. And he's still in his prime. I'd argue he's still in his prime. We've got Pepe playing at 41. Van Dijk can go on. This is Virgil van Dijk. For me, one of the best, if not the best Premier League centre-back ever. But a new page beckons Liverpool. You know, a new time. Post-Klopp, I think you need to turn that page, start a new chapter, and enter that Slot era. You know? You could almost say there's a new slot for Liverpool on the Premier League table. In terms of attacking-wise, you know, they had their issues last season. They had a lot of games where they were nearing 30 shots and couldn't finish. Ultimately, I don't see it. You got an average age of 24.9 at the moment, so it's a fairly young squad. And if I look through it, you've still got quality players all over the pitch. You've got Alisson, you've got Konate, Van Dijk, Gomez. Even the youngsters there, Phillips and Williams. You like, there's a stack of defenders. Then you go into midfield. I still think they lack that proper number 6. I don't think Endo fills that role. I don't think Trent fills that role. And I don't think Dom Szoboszlai has the work rate to come back and make up for it. So who they need to go out and get, I think you need to be looking into someone like Kimmich. I think when it comes to Kimmich, and right now all the talk of him leaving Bayern Munich, I think a destination for him and a proper destination what might cherish him, and what works well is he could be able to interchange with Trent Alexander-Arnold. So them being able to both alternate between right back and midfield might actually allow him to kind of be a bit more versatile within that team. Whether Trent wants to tuck in, play in midfield, wants to overlap, it kind of allows Kimmich to play almost a Xhaka-like role in midfield. If you remember, I think it was 2021 and 2022 that Xhaka played for Arsenal. But other than that, I do think they need a striker. Nunes ain't it, bruv. He's not him. He is not him. He is as far from him as it comes, and we've seen it with how many chances he missed. Your only player that was clinical outside of Mohamed Salah was Diego Jota. Diego Jota for Liverpool is that guy because he comes on, he's clinical. He finishes his chances. He was able to, when you saw it, when he came back on from injury, he was able to kind of get on the end of the chances that they were missing. So for me, you've got him, you've got Elliott, Nunes isn't him, Salah for me is on the way out. I'd be very surprised if he plays any season past this season. Don't be surprised if he leaves in January. You might want to clip this, guys. He might leave in January. Mohamed Salah to leave in January. Other than that, any rumours at the moment? Don't think so, really. They're looking at Lenny Yoro from Lille and Yilmaz. If you remember Yilmaz from the Euros, he was playing up front for Turkey. So rumoured fee of about 25 to 30 million. He's valued at 17. So we're looking at that there. But other than that, for me, Liverpool finishing 6. 5th place, dear God, Lord and behold, Tottenham Hotspur. You got to give me that huck too. And spit on that club.
Trash club.
Trash club. Honest to God. But, as an Arsenal fan, I can say it for what it is. I think when they had a full squad, Tottenham Hotspur actually looked like a decent team. And I hate to say it, I do think they could creep into the top 4. And whoever I've put in 4th place, we'll talk about in a second, I think they could really challenge them there for that 4th spot because it could really be an interchangeable. But when it comes to Tottenham, you know, everyone's linked to Tottenham. So let's have a look of who they've actually signed. Archie Gray from Leeds for 41 million euros. A nobody club signing, I guess, who from the Championship. And Lucas Bergvall for 10 million euros. Other than that, Eric Dyer's left on a free, which we already knew. And yeah, Perisic gone. Then Ndombele's gone on a free. That's a lot of money spent there. Sessegnon still got no club. And Joe Rodon was at Leeds, I believe, last season, and I think he's completed the loan move. Other than that, I don't see many superstars coming across because if you look at the rumours at the moment, Let's just factually check those. Emerson Royale is looking to leave for AC Milan. Good luck to anyone that signs him. Pedro Neto, as we mentioned before, looking to possibly move to Tottenham. He's valued at 55 million. So they're going to have to fork out at least 70 million there. And look, due to his injury problems, you might be able to discount that for possibly a 50, 55, pay for what his actual value is. But I don't think he'd want to move. I wouldn't want to move to Tottenham. So, and Weston McKennie, bit of a merry-go-round with this guy because he's gone from Leeds back to Juventus and now possibly to Tottenham. So we'll see how that goes there. Other than that, my fourth place, Chelsea. Yes. So, big deep breath when it comes to Chelsea. Enzo Maresca, age 44, just signed. He was the Leicester City manager last season. They've put him on a jail time contract, once again, a 5-year contract at Chelsea. Whoop-de-hoo-de-doo. I can't see them finishing any higher. They have brought in Dewsbury Hall, they've brought in Kellyman and Vega. Maybe he's trying to develop a new, like Dewsbury Hall is a good player. In terms of who's left, they've actually made a bit of bank here. They finally let go of Lewis Hall, 33 million. Ian Matson, 44.5 million. And then Amari Hutchinson, who surprisingly, I don't understand how Arsenal have managed this. Let him go for piss or money. And then he's not played a single game for Chelsea. I believe he's played a couple games maybe in the cup and then left for 23 million euros. Make it make sense. We don't know how to sell players, but Chelsea can, unfortunately. Someone look into that. They might be smuggling money in somewhere. But in terms of what I think tactically they could set up, there's a lot of potential there with Chelsea in terms of the way they play, the players they have, and developing those players. And when it comes to Chelsea, and I've screamed it from the top of the building every time I've talked about them, you need some experienced players in there to be able to nurture and be able to develop those young players properly. There's a lot of weapons in there. You got your Mudriks. You got your Enzos. Whether you like it or not, Caicedo. You know, if you develop these guys properly, you've got one hell of a player in every single one of them. And then you've got players like Reece James. Like if he can stay fit, you've got a great centre-back pairing between Buddy Ashil. And if I remember correctly, the other centre-back coming up between them, at the time, you've got Fofana, you got Disasi, Buddy Ashil, Colwill, Shalaba. That's crazy. That's 4 to 5 possibly future world-class centre-backs right there. And I'm not saying they're world-class at the moment, but the potential I've seen, possibly everyone outside of Shalaba, is there. Like we're talking Levi Colwill, who at Everton a couple seasons ago was the next up-and-coming youngster. Like truly and surely you get one of these guys and they can fill in Thiago Silva. Thiago Silva's a great guy. He lives in Brazil. Thiago Silva's a great centre-back. He played for Chelsea. Yeah, look, it's there. The recipe's there. But ultimately it's a matter of whether Enzo Maresca can get these boys together. Personally, I think with a squad like that, he should be able to. But ultimately, I don't know. That 4th and 5th for me is tight. It really, really is tight. But I'm going to pip Chelsea just, and that is with the most unbiased opinion I could give you.
That's bull. That's the biggest bull.
Anyway, on to 3rd place.
We miss you, Thomas.
I might cop a lot for this. I've gone Aston Villa in 3rd place. Emery Ball. Oh, how I do not miss you. But, dear God, you are killing it, Aston Villa. At the end of the day, when it comes to how he's played last season and the way he troubled teams, especially Arsenal, on both home and away legs, says a lot. Now, I've read rumours that Moussa Diaby is looking to move to Al Ittihad for £59 million. 59 million euros. But we're not too sure about that. Apparently it's at 80% might happen. And this is thank you to Transfer Market. But ultimately I can't see a world where they do let him go. He was one of their best players last season, especially when he got utilised well. We know that Emery likes to play with his quick wingers and Ollie Watkins down the middle. Because Ollie Watkins possesses that ability to get him behind the defence and as well kind of plays that false 9, it opens up players like Diaby. And then when you look at the other side, you've got players like Leon Bailey. I almost forgot his name there. Leon Bailey, Musa Diaby. They've brought in Lewis Dobbin. And if I look at who they've brought in this season, aside from Ian Matson, who's a left back, 44.5 million, they've let go of Douglas Luiz for 51.5. So at the moment, they are sitting at a negative 33.45 million overall balance. But looking at their signings, it's not too bad. Archer, Illing Jr., Dobbin, Baraneshka. Other than that, hasn't really been anyone of prevalence. But the squad they already have there, John McGinn, Yuri Tillemans, Boubacar Kamara, Matty Cash, Luca Dean, Alex Moreno, Ian Matson added to that now, Tyrone Mings, Diego Carlos, Ezri Konza, Pau Torres, Joe Gauchi from the from the A-League, and then Emi Martinez, who's just won a Copa America. So we do have a quality squad there with Aston Villa, and I think a quality manager. I think even though he's a bit older, I do think Unai Emery has actually matured as a manager. I do think he's come a long way. And yes, I might not forgive you for doing what you did in that last season that you had, where you bottled third place with 5 games to go and all you had to do was manage 1 game to win it. But you've done well there, and credit where it's due. Ultimately, third place beckons for them. Now, on to the top 2. In second place. No drum roll. There's no need. Manchester City.
Oh, who could predict?
Manchester City. Little City. All right. Now, you ask yourself, how, after these last 3 seasons, would you put Manchester City in second? I think because it's time for them to kick the can. To move on. To let someone else have a go. You know, sometimes you got to let the other kids play. All jokes aside, I think first place, and we'll get to that. Surprise, surprise.
Totally unbiased. Totally.
I wonder who it is, Madsen. Have you had a guess, Madsen, who it is?
You'll be shocked when you hear.
I can't wait.
Anyway, on to Manchester City. They've got arguably one of the best squads in the world at the moment. You've got players like Haaland, Alvarez, Foden, De Bruyne, Bernardo, Kovacic. Nunes is still there. Calvin Phillips has come back from loan. Rodri, Walker, Cancelo's come back from loan. Rico Lewis, Josko Gvardiol, John Stones, Ake, Akanji, Ruben Diaz, Stefan Ortega as your backup goalkeeper, and Edison as your main goalkeeper. I've just named arguably most of these players could walk into a World 11 at the moment. But what I do think the key factor here is Pep Guardiola. I do believe that this is Pep Guardiola's last season. I do believe that after this season, he does move on and we do see a change in the Premier League. But it does kind of remind me of when Klopp did start out at Liverpool and hint at first place. And you look at Klopp's last season, the steam can only go on for so long. And I don't see the passion in these Manchester City players that I do see in the Liverpool players. So when Klopp announced he was going to leave, you saw it in the Liverpool players. I think it's very much business means business for a lot of these Man City players. And you see it when they win trophies. When you win that many trophies, they start to mean less and less to you, honestly. And for a club that, with all due respect, doesn't have the history of others, such as Man United and Liverpool and Arsenal, you can't really etch that into these players. You can't turn around and show them all these trophies because there aren't that many of them. People might come for me for that. But ultimately, it comes down to passion. And I just don't think they have that drive to go one more season. Now, thank God you broke the record because I don't want to hear about Manchester United fans talking about, oh, we won the 3 in a row. Man City broke that last season. I believe they won their 4th in a row. So, yes, for me, second place beckons. I think Rodri's surely going to run out of steam. He can't stay in that form for that long. De Bruyne is getting a bit older, injury prone, can't really keep himself fit. Haaland, for me, we saw last season, he isn't the same Haaland as he was before. It's not the same player. And I think due to the lack of support, Foden can't keep up. We've seen it with England after that. He can't keep up for that long. I just don't think, I think I've said it now, they can't keep up. I have a feeling they'll drop off. Not too much, but they'll finish second, but they'll be closer to third than first. And my first place. Surprise, surprise. It's Arsenal. Arsenal. Now, when it comes to Arsenal, how long do we want to talk about Arsenal for? As Thierry says to Kyle Walker, all day. We're going to talk about them all day, mate. All day. Nah. With all due respect to Man City and Aston Villa and Liverpool, Manchester United and Chelsea and not so much Tottenham, I think Arsenal do it this season. I think if you're going to bring in a player like Calafiore, I think if you're going to strengthen that midfield, we're looking at players. I heard at the moment, I believe it was Moreno from Real Sociedad. It's only going to better us. I think the recipe's there. We scored. We broke all our records last season. And if it wasn't for that machine of a money team, that is Manchester City, you win that league last season. You probably win it the year before. And they've matured and they've come a long way. And we've seen players like Saka. Saka is him. Capital H-I-M. He is him. Like, you look at what he's done for England. Played in multiple positions. Wherever he's asked to play for Arsenal, he does his job there. Martin Odegaard's become a leader. A proper leader. And then he's shown up in big games now. And yes, we may have been accused, not last season, the season before, of not showing up when it mattered. But we proved true and well. We went home and away to Liverpool and Manchester City and came away without a loss on either occasion. I think we won one, drawn one, won one, drawn one against both opponents. And then, yes, it came to games against Aston Villa where it cost us, or games earlier in the season where we had lapses of concentration. But I did see one thing with Mikel, and I saw that development from earlier in the season and what he's trying to do. It did take us a bit longer to take off. It did take us up until, I think, game week 33 to actually lose a game in the new year. But that just wasn't enough. And I think we're bettering every season. And if we keep going in that trajectory, I believe we kind of do become that next Manchester City where we're able to dominate year in, year out due to the age of the squad, due to the development. And if you look at, for example, the midfield options we have at the moment, Declan Rice, Partey, Jorginho, Odegaard, Havertz, Smith Rowe and Vieira. Havertz and Smith Rowe both playing on the wing and at striker when needed. But that starts there. And then if I take you into defense, wow. Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, Zinchenko, Kivior, Kieran Tierney's come back from loan. Ben White, Tomiyasu, add Calafiore on top of that. You're looking at, arguably a top 3 defense in the world. And then you go to attack where I do think we're at our most lightest. I do think Bukayo Saka does need a backup. You've got Martinelli, Trossard, Saka, Nelson, Jesus and Nketiah. And Nketiah is looking to be offloaded at the moment for anywhere around £50 million. If anyone wants to take him, more than happy. I've been looking to offload him for the last 3 seasons. But he's built some value up. He's proved his worth. And ultimately, for me, Arsenal have to do it this season. And big statement coming from the Arsenal fan himself. If Arsenal do not win the league this season, I genuinely don't see us winning it for the next few years. I can't see it, because I believe if we don't do anything this season, if we don't win a major trophy, players will start to want to leave. Okay, I think Saka will get frustrated. Players like Martinelli will start to get frustrated. Jesus came to Arsenal to win trophies. Players like Havertz and Odegaard might be a bit more grateful to the club for rescuing their career. But when you have players like Saka and Saliba, Real Madrid have been knocking on the door of Saliba for the last 2 seasons. And ultimately, if we don't pick up our shit, we might just lose him. So, in terms of who we've brought in, David Raya has been confirmed, 32 million. Who we're looking to sell at the moment, I believe it's Ramsdale, Smith Rowe's on the market, and Nketiah's on the market. Sambi Lokonga's on loan to Sevilla. Nuno Tavares also on loan to Lazio at the moment. Cedric Suarez and Mohamed Elneny are without a club, but I believe those two are doing their coaching badges. And our 4th choice keeper, Arthur Okonkwo, I'll butcher that, has left on a free transfer. So, to sum up our table, we've got 20th position, Leicester City, 19th position, Nottingham Forest, 18th, Ipswich Town, 17th, Southampton, Bournemouth, Everton and Wolves, Brighton, Fulham, Brentford, Crystal Palace, now from 9th, West Ham, 8th, Manchester United, Newcastle in 7th, Liverpool in 6th, Tottenham in 5th, Chelsea in 4th, 3rd, Aston Villa, 2nd, Manchester City, and your Premier League champions of 24-25, the mighty Arsenal. Well, guess what? That sums up our Premier League predictions. You know what? I might just add a few more in there. Leading goal scorer. I think Erling Haaland wraps that up. Even though I said he's not what he used to be, I don't think anyone's going to be as average as he can be by his standards and still score 25 goals. So he takes it. I think Martin Odegaard will have the most assists this year because I do believe that Arsenal will bring in a striker. I don't think he'll start, but I also don't think that Kai Havertz will be playing as many minutes as he did up front last season. So there will be more goals for Odegaard to be an assister for. De Bruyne also could be an option, but it depends how fit he can be. In terms of first manager to get sacked, that's a good question. Nuno Espirito Santos. That's the manager out at Nottingham Forest. What's another rogue prediction I can think of? Eric Ten Hag will be sacked by January. I think that Arne Slot will have a poor start to the season, but will pick up halfway through. What other predictions that I have? I think Aston Villa will lead the table for a good part of that start of the season. I think they'll start off strong. I think they'll bring in the right signings, but ultimately I think they'll fall to third. Other than that, that's pretty much it. I think that's pretty much it for this week's video.
You've been enjoying the camera angles, haven't you?
I've been loving it. I've been loving it.
Hey, Abs, something came in about an hour ago. Not sure if you caught it, but FA apparently, this is apparently coming from the Independent. FA are willing to wait for Pep Guardiola as England manager to replace Gareth as Southgate for the England position.
Now, where was that from?
That came from the Independent. It's only just popped up. I just wanted to see what your thoughts were on it, if that ends up happening, because they're saying it's happening in the winter, which could, if it happens, make your predictions potentially correct, because there's a whole series of questions that come from that too, if that does go down.
Okay. In terms of Pep Guardiola joining the England national team as manager, hell must freeze over for the English FA to hire a manager that is not English. Now, I would like to see it, and I think you'd have absolutely one hell of a weapon with that team, because I feel like the players in that English team actually suit the way Pep Guardiola plays football. Progressive, possession, going forward, flair, attacking. They've got it all. But, like I said, hell must freeze over for the FA to pick out a manager that is not English. So that will debunk that.
That would 100%, because that's the first thing I thought, because I don't remember England ever have really hiring anyone else but the English. But in the rare occasion that they've decided to make the move and go, well, we're kind of struggling. We've had 2-3 golden generations to come out with all. Excuse my French. But what happens if that does happen? He does decide to take that in the winter, which would be our summer. Then
The rest of the world will be shitting bricks. Because Pep Guardiola and that English squad are just going to be crazy. You thought Man City was bad. You wait till this team gets put together. But, yeah, look, that's that. Just a quick touch on that England game. It didn't come home. Very sad. Well done, Spain. Best team of the tournament. Deserved it. Can't complain. Gareth Southgate, good riddance. He should have left a long time ago. You know, thank you. You've gotten us to 2 finals, 3 semi-finals. But ultimately, I think with a better manager, we get further than that. We play better than that. We do better than that. And I hope that the next manager that gets brought in, and as we talked about before, is carefully thought of. Because you've got a golden generation on your hands. A generation where legends could be born, where England could have a new generation where they win trophies. It's not just on one World Cup they can hold on to. And you look at the next generations of kids that are watching England right now. You want them to grow up knowing that their country was successful in football, that they weren't second place. And look, as an Arsenal fan, I know what second place feels like. It's not nice. It really isn't. So, look, other than that, that's pretty much been it. We got the Tillies next week. The Matildas are at the Olympics. Woo, 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 woo. You know, we love our Tillies over here. So we're going to get into that. We got some MPL things we do want to do. We have Thomas coming back very soon. He's enjoying his time in Croatia at the moment. What else do we have? We have the end of July coming up. We have the Premier League in a month's time. I just had my end of financial year. And no, that is not a celebratory occasion. That is depression. AKA I'm also an accountant. Other than that, that's pretty much been it. So when the Premier League kicks off, we get back right into it. Season 2, I can't wait. In terms of getting out and about to games, there's some collaborations coming up. Big thanks to the guys that have jumped on the last couple of weeks as well with Joe K and the Sports Shed boys, Adrian and Josh. It's been a pleasure. But other than that, I think I might leave it there. I've kind of enjoyed all this attention on me today, so I can't complain. 3 cameras, it's
All on you.
it's all on me. I feel like Madonna.
Oh Lord, that
I don't know. Well, I don't know, mate. But anyway, we're gonna leave it. We're gonna leave it here, boys. As Madonna once said, strike a pose. Vogue.
Strike a pose. Go ahead.
Vogue.
Wow. Do it again, Abs. Do
look,
it again.
I've been Abs. This has been United by Football.
Pick
Ciao. Vogue.
Pick an angle.
Vogue. No, hold on. Vogue is
It's sound like
Vogue.
this.
Oh, there we go.
You
Yes.
gotta do this shit, bro.
Vogue. Oh, mate. Ciao. All right, mate. So we got it.
Okay. We need to get this camera activated so we can see it.